In this video for section 5.1, we're going to see another method for solving linear systems called addition. When you're doing the addition method, you need to have both equations with x and y on the same side of the equation. Generally, it will already be written like this, but just be aware that in order to use addition, it needs to be in this form. Then what you're going to do is multiply either equation or possibly both equations by a number so that the sum of the x coefficients or the sum of the y coefficients is 0. So you want to get either in front of x or in front of y the same numbers but opposite signs. So maybe you can do that by just multiplying one equation, or maybe you would need to multiply each equation by a different number in order to make that happen. Then you're going to add the equations together. One of the variables will cancel out and you'll only have one left. You can then solve this equation and substitute to find the other variable. So we're going to look at example 3 from the textbook. It says solve by the addition method. 3x plus 2y equals 48. 9x minus 8y equals negative 24. Now if I look at my coefficients here, I have a couple of choices. I could multiply the top equation by negative 3. Negative 3 times 3 would give me negative 9 in front of x, and that would cancel with the 9 in front of x in the other equation. My other choice would be to multiply the top equation by positive 4. That would give me plus 8y, which would cancel with this minus 8y. Either one will work. I'm going to do multiply the top equation by negative 3. And that's going to give me negative 9x minus 6y. And 48 times negative 3 would be negative 144. Make sure you multiply everything in the equation by that number. Or you can think of it as distributing the negative 3 to all three parts of the equation. My bottom equation I'm going to leave alone. And now I'm going to add the equations together. So we have negative 9x plus 9x. That's 0x. 0 times anything is 0, so that just cancels out. Negative 6y plus negative 8y is negative 14y. And negative 144 plus negative 24 is negative 168. And then I'm going to divide to get y by itself. And negative divided by negative is going to be positive. So y is going to be positive 12. And now I'm going to plug in to find x. I could plug into either of these two original equations. I'm going to go with the top one, but you should get the same answer either way. So I'm going to plug in 12 for y. And then solve for x. So this is 3x plus 24 equals 48. And get x by itself. 3x equals 24. And dividing gives me x equals 8. So now I have my x and my y coordinate. Now when you see this in the homework, you have to be careful because there's going to be a squiggly bracket with a box for you to type it. And the instructions are going to say to enter as an ordered pair. When it says enter as an ordered pair, that means that you have to put the x, y coordinates in parentheses. So inside the squiggly brackets, you need to type parentheses 8, 12, and then parentheses. So this is x and this is y. So make sure you enter your answer just like this. So next you should look at checkpoint problem number 3. Do this in your notes, check your answer, and then you can move on with the video. Next we're going to do one of the homework exercises, and you're going to see a similar problem in your homework. It says a hotel has 200 rooms. Those with kitchen facilities rent for $100 per night, and those without kitchen facilities rent for $80 per night. On a night when the hotel was completely occupied, which means all 200 rooms were full, revenues were $17,000. How many of each type of room does the hotel have? So, we're going to start by assigning our variables. I'm going to set x to be rooms with kitchens, And I'm going to set Y to be rooms without. I could do it the other way around. Doesn't matter, it should work out the same. So, we have information here to write two equations. One equation has to do with the number of rooms. And that is that the total number of rooms is 200. So 200 rooms, and they're split among the rooms with kitchen and the rooms without kitchen. So if I add those two things together, that should equal 200. In an equation, that would mean that x plus y equals 200. Remember, our variable here is the number of rooms, so number of rooms with and without kitchen. So x plus y equals 200 because there's a total of 200 rooms. Now I have another equation that I can write with the information about the revenue or the money. With kitchen is $100 per night, and without kitchen is $80 per night. So for each room with a kitchen, I'm making $100 per night. So my revenue from those rooms is 100 times x. $100 for each room times x number of rooms. Without kitchen, rents for $80 per night. So 80 times the number of rooms without a kitchen, and the total revenue is $17,000. So if I add those two amounts together, the amount that I make in total from with kitchen, the amount that I make in total from without kitchen, that should give me a total of $17,000. So these are the two equations. Now, this makes a system that I can solve. For this system, I can solve it either with substitution or with addition, because I can easily get either x or y by itself here and substitute. Or I could just use addition. So I'm going to show this using addition. I show both methods in the notes. I'm going to multiply the top equation by negative 80. And that will allow me to eliminate the y's. So if I do that, I get negative 80x minus 80y, and 200 times negative 80 is negative 16,000. Bottom equation, I don't need to multiply by anything. And then I can add the equations together. So we get 20x, this cancels out, equals 1,000. And lastly, I can divide both sides by 20, and that gives me x equals 50. So now, in order to find y, I can substitute into one of my original two equations up here. Now, x plus y equals 200 is going to be a lot easier to solve just because there's a lot less math. I don't have to do any multiplying, just plug in 50. I could probably even do this in my head. Plug in 50 for x and subtract to get a y value of 150. So I need to look back at what I set my variables to in order to answer the question. X was the number of rooms with kitchen, and y was the number of rooms without kitchen. So this means that there are 50 rooms with kitchen and 150 rooms without. Because x was number of rooms with kitchen, y was number of rooms without kitchen. So this is my answer. And now you can do the homework problems for this section.